Hello. Thank you all for being here today. For any station streaming this live, this is a 5-minute warning. This is a mic check for everyone here today, and we appreciate you being here for this press conference for the Pauline Mullins Pusser case. I am Brandy Hitt. I am with the District Attorney's General Conference.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm Mark Davidson, District Attorney for the 25th Judicial District, Hardeman, Fayette, McNairy, Lauderdale, and Tipton counties. I want to thank TBI Director Rausch, ASAC Mike Parson, and their partners for their professionalism and commitment. I want to thank our team, Special Counsel Amy Wyrick and Brandy Hitt, Senior Communications Strategist, for their work, and Chancellor Yancey Freeman and his UT Martin team for hosting this press conference. It's been said that the dead cannot cry out for justice. It is the duty of the living to do so. In this case, that duty has been carried out 58 years later. The TBI, then the Tennessee Bureau of Identification, took the lead on this investigation into the 1967 murder of Pauline Mullins Pusser. She was a wife, mother, and a sister whose life ended violently and unjustly. Her husband, McNairy County Sheriff Buford Pusser, reported that his wife volunteered to ride along in the early morning hours on a disturbance call. He claimed the car pulled alongside and fired several shots, killing Pauline and injuring him in what he claimed was an ambush intended for him and carried out by unknown assailants. Buford Pusser recovered from his injury. No viable suspects were developed and no charges were filed. This was a cold case for decades, but in 2022, TBI agents took another look. In 2024, Pauline Mullins Pusser was exhumed for an autopsy. TBI completed their investigative process this year, and the file was forwarded to our office to review. The file is voluminous, over 1,000 pages, and employed modern investigative techniques and forensic science unavailable in 1967. It is thorough and exhaustive, and the scope exceeds our ability to discuss it in detail today. That is one reason we are making this a public record. Another reason is that Buford Pusser's account of the events of August 12, 1967 spawned the movie Walking Tall in 1973, several sequels, a 2004 remake, and several books. This case and those retellings generated public interest and placed Pauline's murder in an historical but inaccurate posture. That history must be measured against the facts in plain view. Justice for Pauline has been a long time coming, and thanks to all the hard work put in by so many, we're finally able to announce to Pauline's family and to public that we believe we are as close as possible to justice. The case file reveals inconsistencies in Buford Pusser's statements to law enforcement and others about Pauline's murder, including physical, medical, forensic, ballistic, and reenactment evidence that contradicts his version of events. Dr. Michael Revelle, emergency medicine physician and medical examiner, opines with a reasonable medical certainty based on crime scene photographs, post-mortem photographs, the notes of the then medical examiner, Dr. Peeler, the statement of Sheriff Pusser and his then chief deputy, and Sheriff Buford Pusser's own statements that events did not occur as stated by Buford Pusser, and that Pauline Pusser was more likely shot outside the vehicle and then placed inside the. Dr. Revelle opines that cranial trauma suffered by Pauline Pusser depicted in crime scene photographs does not match interior crime scene photographs of the vehicle. Dr. Revelle opines that blood spatter on the hood outside of the vehicle contradicts Buford Pusser's statements. Dr. Revelle opines that the gunshot wound to Buford Pusser's cheek was a close contact wound, not long range, as Buford Pusser described, and likely self-inflicted. Kansas Bureau of Investigation Special Agent in Charge Corey Latham and National Forensic Academy Training Specialist Jason Jones conducted 3 series of bloodstain pattern analysis and concluded that the bloodstain patterns were inconsistent with Buford Pusser's statements and indicated that someone was injured both outside and inside the vehicle. Ballistics expert Dr. Eric Warren states that physical evidence in the case does not support Buford Pusser's version of events and instead is indicative of a staged crime scene. Also, the cartridge locations, bullet trajectories, and bloodstain pattern on the hood are inconsistent with Buford Pusser's statements. The autopsy of Pauline revealed a healing, prior to death nasal fracture, commonly caused by interpersonal trauma. Our office, after review of the case file, believes that the TBI has produced evidence sufficient to create probable cause, meaning more likely than not, that would allow us to present an indictment to the McNairy County Grand Jury against Buford Pusser for the murder of his wife, Pauline. That cannot happen, but there is probable cause to believe Pauline's death was not an accident, not an act of chance, but, based on the totality of the TBI investigative file, an act of intimate, deliberate violence. Because the file speaks strongly with its evidence and with public interest, we invite you to review the case file. Buford Pusser would be presumed innocent until proven guilty. TBI investigative files are confidential under state law with very limited exceptions. Thanks to the investigative work by the TBI and the public interest and historical significance of this case, our office, along with the TBI, made the decision to make this file a public record after closure by the TBI. We also made the decision to transfer custody of the file to the University of Tennessee at Martin, which has campus centers in our district, including Selmer. UTM Chancellor Yancey Freeman and the University of Tennessee at Martin have generously agreed to serve as the long-term custodians of the investigative file. Their commitment will ensure that future generations, scholars, historians, and citizens alike, will have access to the investigative file for inspection, for study. Our office went through the judicial process needed to get to this point. We recently filed a petition in the Chancery Court of McNairy County to release the TBI investigative file as a public record. Yesterday, Chancellor Bill Cole signed an order granting that request and making the file a public record. The file is being finalized by TBI and transferred to UTM. This, like the investigation, is a methodical and careful process to ensure high-quality access to this case and this investigative work. I understand everyone wants instant access to the file. As you will hear, there is a process in place and a timeline. This case is not about tearing down a legend. It is about giving dignity and closure to Pauline and her family and ensuring the truth is not buried with time. The truth matters, justice matters. Even 58 years later, Pauline deserves both. And at 10:22 this morning, I got an email from Oakley Dean Baldwin, which said, "Mark, on behalf of the Mullins family members, Griffin, Robert, Trula Hall, many cousins, and other family members, we thank you for giving Pauline a voice from her grave." I'll now turn over the podium to Director Rausch. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Thank you as well. My name is David Rausch. I am the Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Good morning. Thank you, General Davidson, for your leadership in this very unique case. This investigation demonstrates why we exist at the TBI: to provide a thorough investigation focused on the victim and relentless pursuit of the truth. For many, the story of Buford Pusser is part of West Tennessee history, and the shooting death of his wife, Pauline, has long stood as an especially tragic chapter. As the story goes, it was August 12, 1967. Buford, then the sheriff of McNairy County, got a call in the early morning hours about a disturbance on New Hope Road. Pauline went with him. As Buford reported, shortly after they passed New Hope Methodist Church, a car pulled alongside them and fired, killing Pauline and injuring Buford. The sheriff spent about 18 days in the hospital and required several surgeries. The case, built largely on Buford's statement, closed quickly. In May 2022, TBI agents, prompted by lingering questions, worked with General Davidson's office to revisit the archived Pusser case file. That sparked internal discussions and renewed investigative efforts, which accelerated in the spring of 2023, when we received a tip about the possible murder weapon in the case. The work to develop more comprehensive understanding of the facts of the case using the full strength of the Bureau has reshaped our understanding of what transpired nearly 60 years ago. The initial investigative efforts into the murder of Pauline Pusser were heavily focused on those who were believed to be enemies of Buford Pusser. The more recent investigative efforts casted a wider net to identify all persons potentially involved and possible motives. Today, the General has taken steps to make available to the public the full record of this investigation. This is a rare step, but it's one that we support. It provides transparency and demonstrates the exhaustive nature of our work in an extremely controversial and historic case. From our perspective, there are 5 key developments we've learned as a result of this recent investigative endeavor. Number 1, significant inconsistencies in the statement of Buford Pusser and the physical evidence documented and observed. Number 2, recent statements provided by people associated with this investigation. Number 3, the autopsy of Pauline Pusser. Number 4, evidence examined by TBI personnel. And number 5, the review and studies of experts external to the agency, reviewed from a multidisciplinary approach. We understand you will have detailed questions about this case. We expect that. The answers are in the case file. And that's why we'd encourage the media or those in the public with an interest in this case to read the case file in its entirety. As General Davidson indicated, the case file is now public record. Our redactions are in their final stages, and upon completion of the file will be transferred to UT Martin. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is a fact-finding agency. We work with local agencies, external partners, and district attorneys to find out what happened. We thank our law enforcement partners, the West Tennessee Regional Forensics Center, experts, and the many people interviewed in this case who provided information to our agents that is often very difficult to disclose. We are confident we have exhausted all investigative leads available to the agency and provided District Attorney General Davidson with a work product that gives him the answers he needed to make decisions about the closure of this case and prosecutorial decisions he would have made if Buford Pusser were alive today. TBI stands united with General Davidson, confident in this investigation and satisfied the request to close our case file is a just resolution to this cold case. In closing, I'm incredibly proud of the work of our team to apply best practices, modern forensics, and investigative prowess to give this case the fresh look it needed and deserved. This is who we are as an agency. In this case, as in every case in which we have the pleasure of contributing in the search for answers and the pursuit of justice for victims in the state of Tennessee. Thank you.
So good morning. It is great to be here with all of you at the Somerville Center for this event and occasion. I'd like to especially thank the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, Director Rausch, and the Office of District Attorney General for the 25th Judicial District and District Attorney Mark Davidson for their partnership and trust in transferring these important files and historical records to UT Martin. We are honored to assume the stewardship of the historical case files regarding Ms. Pauline Griffin Mullins. We approach with care to ensure both transparency for the public and the perseverance of these important records for generations. At UTM, this is a powerful teaching and research opportunity. Our criminal justice programs offered at the main campus, regional centers, and online now extend to a new master's program. These files provide our students with an invaluable case study. For UT Martin, accepting the collection is an act of service, aligning with our mission to engage, educate, and preserve the stories that shape the communities we serve. This case file will support not only criminal justice students, but also scholars in communications, history, sociology, and law. It offers rare access to primary resources that can inspire new research. Our commitment is to serve the public good. In sharing these records, we ensure an important piece of Tennessee's history remains accessible to all. Once the files have been received, they will be processed as part of our digital archive initiative. This processing step ensures the public will have ultimately high quality, a searchable online database to the records. Because this is a careful process, online availability will take time. To ensure compliance with the Public Records Act while this digital processing is underway, accessible copies will be available. One, the public may view a printed copy of the files by scheduling an appointment at the UTM McNairy County Selmer Center. And two, a request may be made to purchase a reproduced copy of the file. In closing, this is about honoring history, serving the public, and creating opportunities for learning. We thank the TBI for entrusting us with this responsibility, and we look forward to making this important record accessible in a careful, transparent, and respectable manner. Thank you.
And with that, we will be taking questions.
I'm Martin Staunton with Fox 13 News, Memphis. My question's for Mr. Davidson. The first is, does the file say that he staged that shooting on the road? Did he have help? And the second was, can you talk about the moment when you looked at that vast file and the realization that a Tennessee law enforcement legend is coming down off that pedestal?
Well, to answer your second question,
They're going to ask you to step up to the
Okay.
mic, sir, if that's okay.
this is obviously not something you take lightly. The Walking Tall story has been a story that I knew growing up with. I know many of our law enforcement partners maybe even became law enforcement because of that story. The investigation was important enough to push that aside. It's been a cold case for so many years, and when TBI was able to apply the full scope and breadth of their investigative abilities, they followed the facts and the evidence. At the end of the day, you're looking for the truth. So really, no one's above the law. I guess that's one thing you could take away from this. As far as your first question, is the file going to say he staged it? I gave you some evidence. One expert who said that it appeared to be staged. That's probably as close as you're going to get in the file. The file is not going to give you a he did it and this is how it happened summary. It's replete with evidence, statements, analysis from experts, from any of which I talked about. The public will have to look at the file and draw your own conclusions. But no, there's not going to be a statement from somebody saying he definitely staged the scene, but the expert who says it appears it was staged.
Melanie King, Erie County News. Does this show anyone helped Buford or he acted alone? Any idea?
I'll attempt to answer that. The case file is all of the statements and interviews of various individuals that both at the time and currently talked to by our investigators. And then you'll have an opportunity to look at all the evidence from the scene and the current forensic technologies applied to that evidence and what that shows. You'll be able to get a clearer picture as you review the file of what the potential was on that evening. Okay. Certainly. The question is about what inspired our team to take a look at this again and any information about the weapon that came into our knowledge. As with most cases that have yet to be solved, our team is always taking looks back and trying to see if new sets of eyes can determine information that might help in these cases. And we've had a push in the past few years on Code Case, taking a look at all of our cases that have yet to be resolved and trying to determine if there is more investigative effort, could it turn out this was one of those cases picked up and looked at. And as the investigators read through the file, they noticed some possibilities of a different direction and more information that was burning that we needed. And so that led to kind of the further look at it, and then just fortunate that we got a call about the weapon, and so that potential homicide weapon was provided to us, and so that too was part of our evidence to further the investigation and really kind of took the investigation a little in a new direction with new vigor.
Okay, does that weapon match up to the autopsy findings?
I would have to read through the case file to get more specific with the weapon, the type of weapon, and what the autopsy findings have. Yes, sir.
Director Rausch, if I understand, Martin Staunton, again with Fox 13
Yes.
News out of Memphis, Pauline was a victim of domestic violence. When you talk about the injury to the nasal passage, am I making too big a leap?
No, I would tell you that again, through witness interviews, statements from individuals who were around during that period, you're not making a leap.
And any reaction from Pusser's relatives? Did you guys approach them and talk to them during the course of the investigation?
I'll have to defer, Mike. Yeah.
Yes, there were individuals within the Pusser family that we did speak to, but I would not go into what those conversations were to refer you to the file.
What's your name, sir?
Mike Parson, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Thank you.
Any further questions? That concludes. Thank you all for being here.